Welcome to today's deep dive. I am so glad you're joining us.
Yes, really excited to dig into this one.
Because usually, when we talk about a landscaping project, there's this underlying expectation of brute force.
Oh, absolutely.
You hire a massive firm, they bring in the bulldozers, they tear up the earth.
It's very man versus nature.
Right. Expensive, loud, and it almost always involves hauling away tons of existing organic matter just to, bring in tons of new store-bought materials.
Which is wild because that approach completely ignores the existing ecosystem.
Mm.
I mean, we tend to want a pristine blank slate, even if we have to utterly destroy the current slate to get it.
But a recent case study of a Danish garden project by two young consultants entirely flips that bulldozer script.
It really does. It's fascinating.
Yeah, so today we are looking at some notes and excerpts detailing a project from a Nature and Innovation class by two boys named Kesser and Steen.
Right. And they are acting as garden consultants for their client.
Yes, their client, Aunt Green. And the mission for today's deep dive is to look at how Kesser and Steen handle the task of transforming a boring, slightly sloping lawn on a street corner into an exciting kitchen garden.
And not just any garden. A garden with terraces shaped as low raised beds, following permaculture and hügelkultur ideas.
Exactly. They achieved this amazing transformation using almost nothing but the organic debris already sitting on the lot.
Which is why you should really care about this, whether you have a garden or not. The methods they use prove you do not need a massive budget or a high-end professional firm to design a highly functional, self-sustaining system.
You just need to know how to look at the resources you already have.
Yeah, and understand how to apply concepts like Swales and Hügel culture.
Okay, let's unpack this, because any good project starts before a single shovel hits the dirt.
Oh, the planning phase is everything.
Right. And Kesser and Steen approached this consulting gig with Aunt Green by treating themselves as total beginners with a very small toolbox.
They do. They intentionally avoid creating rigid final blueprints, which is a very mature approach.
Why do you think that is?
Well, they recognize they aren't the ones who will be tending this garden every day. Aunt Green is.
Oh, right. You have to actually live with it.
Exactly. So instead of handing her this inflexible mandate, they set up a framework. They build a structure so she can fill it with her own ideas and specific desires over the winter.
It's effectively leaving room for the user in the design process.
Which is good design 101.
Yeah, but getting to that framework highlights a dynamic anyone who has ever collaborated will recognize. You have two very different personalities at play here.
Oh, the classic clash of working styles.
Totally. So you have Steen, who is eager, impatient, and practically vibrating with the need to take action.
The notes say he is ready to sprint over to someone named Gunnar to grab a long measuring tape and surveyor sticks.
He just wants to get started immediately. He wants to be in the dirt, measuring the physical space.
He is highly tactical. He's an action guy.
But Kesser is the exact opposite. He wants to step back, get an aerial overview and sketch things out before setting foot on the actual site.
It's the classic measure twice, cut once mentality, colliding directly with ready, fire, aim.
Right, and you see this in almost every business or creative partnership. One person wants to plan the strategy for 6 months.
And the other person wants to start selling the product tomorrow.
Yeah. And neither approach is inherently wrong, but they can paralyze a project if they don't find a middle ground.
And compounding this friction is the fact that Steen doesn't have the attention span to sit at a desktop and click around a complex CAD program to draft architectural blueprints.
He simply won't use modern online drawing tools.
No, he hates them.
So Steen seems completely impatient with those tools. So how do they actually bridge this gap between Steen's impatience and Kesser's need for a plan?
Well, they come up with a clever workaround that blends both of their working styles beautifully. Because Steen lacks the patience for digital drafting, he utilizes a different kind of technology.
What does he do?
He gets in a car and drives by Aunt Green's house, following the exact route of the Google Street View car.
Wait, really?
Yeah. He takes real-time photos from the road to get that on-the-ground perspective he craves.
A digital drive-by. That's brilliant.
And then he combines those ground-level photos with an aerial photo of the lot.
And since he wants to avoid complicated software, he marks the images up quickly with basic red indicators.
Exactly. He gets the information out of his head and into a visual format almost instantly.
And the glue holding it all together is an iPad. They use it as a shared electronic scrapbook and drafting book.
This allows them to collaborate asynchronously, which is huge. Steen can be out in the world snapping photos and making quick red marks.
And Kesser can be at home looking at those same images, analyzing the aerial view and taking his time.
Right, taking time to think about the broader implications of the space. They didn't try to change each other.
They found the right tool to translate Steen's hustle into Kesser's blueprint.
Yeah, and getting that bird's eye view was absolutely crucial for this specific project.
Because the geography of this plot presents a really unique challenge.
The terrain always dictates the possibilities in landscaping.
Yeah, and the source notes have this really funny detail. They describe Denmark as being flat as a piece of pizza, with almost no terrain variations.
Which is mostly true.
But in Kesser and Steen's specific neighborhood, this corner lot actually has a noticeable slope. There's a terrain jump.
And a slope completely changes the hydrology of a space.
Right, because when land is flat, water just pools.
But on a slope, it runs off, potentially causing erosion and taking valuable nutrients with it.
Which sounds like a problem.
It is, but in landscaping, a slope is also a massive opportunity. It means gravity can do a lot of the work for you.
Which brings us back to our mission. The boys realize the site is perfect for building terraces to manage that gradient.
But they don't just build traditional wooden retaining wall terraces.
No, they tap into two massive ecological concepts to build these structures. I was looking at the diagrams for the first technique they use, called swales.
Swales are incredible.
And they aren't your typical concrete highway ditches. They're actually shallow, gently sloping trenches placed directly along the natural elevation lines.
The positioning is what makes them so effective. By tracing those natural contours, the swales act as horizontal catchments.
So they calculate the size based on the volume of rainwater.
Yes, the volume of rainwater that hits the property and the available surface area. So when water flows down that slope, it hits this horizontal channel.
It catches it.
Right. The swale catches the rainwater on its high side, slowing it down, stopping it from running off into the street, and allows it to slowly sink into the earth.
A swale is essentially a speed bump for rainwater.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Here is where it gets really interesting, though. They combine that swale with a second concept, hügelkultur.
Ah, yes. Hügelkultur.
Now, from what the notes describe, this is a method of building raised garden beds out of wood, branches, and garden waste.
That's the basic idea.
I understand the ecological value on paper, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
If you tell a client you are burying their cleared brush and dead branches in the middle of their new garden, doesn't that just create a rotting pile of sticks? I mean, isn't it like sweeping dirt under a rug?
I get that. It does sound counterintuitive to a client used to pristine store-bought topsoil.
Yeah, it sounds messy.
But what's fascinating here is you have to look at the underlying biology of what happens to that organic matter. It acts as a battery for the garden.
A battery?
Yeah. When Kesser and Steen cleared the lot, they took all the heavy woody material, the branches and twigs, and laid it directly on the ground as the base layer of these raised beds.
Okay.
And then the excess soil dug up to make the swales was placed directly on top of that wood. Over time, that wood begins to decay.
And as it breaks down, it acts like a giant subterranean sponge, right? Because wood is incredibly porous, so it absorbs massive amounts of water deep underground.
Exactly. But there's a thermal element to this as well.
Oh, interesting.
As the organic material rots, it undergoes an exothermic reaction. It generates a slow, consistent heat.
Wait, so it actually warms the soil from below?
Yes, extending the growing season for Anne Green's plants. And simultaneously, it releases a steady stream of nutrients directly to the roots of the vegetables planted above it.
Wow. So they are installing a subterranean irrigation, heating, and fertilization system using the lot's own cleared brush.
It's genius. And when you connect this to the broader layout, the synergy is remarkable.
Right, because the swales and the beds work together.
Yes. The water runs down the slope, hits the stone settings of the swales, and funnels directly into these hügelkultur mounds.
The trenches catch the water, and the buried wood absorbs it.
They designed a garden that is almost entirely self-watering, utilizing a completely closed-loop system.
The efficiency just completely flips the script on what a garden project is supposed to cost. You take the branches you would normally pay a crew to haul away, and you turn them into critical infrastructure.
It's resourcefulness at its best.
But you know, a garden isn't just a biological machine. It's about how the human navigates the space.
Anne Green has to actually use this kitchen garden.
Right. She has to pull weeds, harvest the vegetables, and Kesser and Steen were highly aware of this user experience.
They were. They designed the layout so the garden paths act as long runners.
Continuous pathways without sharp, awkward angles.
Because they are anticipating the physical toll of gardening. Aunt Green will need to pull heavy loads like bags of compost or harvested vegetables.
On one of those big gorilla carts.
Exactly. The sweeping paths are specifically designed so she can easily maneuver a heavy-duty utility cart.
Yeah, you do not want to navigate a loaded wagon around tight 90-degree corners or over lumpy terrain.
It's just frustrating.
And the material choices for these paths were also deeply considered. The source notes discuss two options.
What do they look at?
The first is a high-quality park-style gravel. And the notes actually mentioned the psychological aspect of this material, the sensory experience.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Gravel gives a very relaxing, crunchy sound when walked upon. It provides auditory feedback that makes the space feel intentional, managed, and organized.
It creates a psychological boundary. When you hear the crunch of the gravel, you know you are on the path.
Exactly. Now, the second option is wood chips.
Which is very practical.
Right, because if they end up needing to cut down bushes or trees to clear the plot, they can chip that wood and use it for the paths.
And keeping the organic matter on site doesn't just improve the walking paths. It solves another underlying issue with this specific plot.
The nutrient deficit in the sand.
Yes. The soil in this area is notoriously sandy, draining water too fast and lacking nutrients. It desperately needs organic matter to improve its structure.
So the wood chips help with that.
Oh, immensely. As those wood chips break down on the paths under foot traffic and weather, they slowly feed the soil beneath them.
So it's functional ground cover that slowly turns into topsoil.
It is. They also plan for ongoing maintenance of the garden's nutrients by including a technique called chop and drop surface composting.
I saw that in the notes. How does chop and drop actually work?
It's a foundational permaculture technique. Instead of carrying garden clippings to a pile in the corner of the yard, you literally just chop them up and drop them on the soil surface right where you're working.
So it acts as an immediate mulch.
Exactly. It suppresses weeds, retains moisture, and eventually breaks down into fertilizer.
Which saves Aunt Green unnecessary labor.
Every decision reduces friction for the user.
It's incredible. But it's not just the paths and the soil they manipulate, it's the microclimate of the garden itself.
This is where Kesser and Steen really show some serious design chops.
Let's talk about their strategic planting, specifically repositioning the apple trees.
Ah, the apple trees. This is a great detail.
Originally, the thought was to put these lovely apple trees right in the middle of the garden as the classic symmetrical centerpiece.
Which sounds nice in theory.
But the boys completely scrapped that and moved them all the way to the northwest corner, which is on the left side of the plot.
Yes.
But why move the apple trees to the corner? I mean, don't you want your beautiful fruit trees front and center?
Well, this raises an important point about designing for the fourth dimension.
Time.
Time, yeah. You have to design for what the garden will become in 5 or 10 years, not just what it looks like on day one. Aesthetically, trees in the center make sense, but functionally, they become a massive problem.
Because apple trees grow tall and broad.
Exactly.
And if they are planted in the middle of a vegetable garden, their canopy will eventually cast a massive shadow directly down onto the hügelkultur vegetable beds.
And vegetables need full sun.
Right. So by moving the trees to the northwest corner, the shadows they cast will fall away from the primary growing areas.
They manage the shade before the trees even have branches.
So smart.
But the second reason is even more impactful for the microclimate.
Oh.
By placing those trees in the northwest corner, they act as a living wall. They become a natural windbreak against the cold wind that blows in off the sea.
Wait, how does that actually work? Doesn't a line of trees completely block the wind?
Not completely, no. They don't block it like a solid brick wall, which would actually create destructive turbulence on the other side.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah. Instead, the porous canopy of the trees fractures the wind. It takes the harsh, freezing sea air and diffuses its kinetic energy.
So by the time the air reaches the delicate vegetable plants in the center of the garden, it's just a gentle breeze.
Exactly. They use the trees to buffer the harsh maritime climate, creating a warmer, calmer pocket of air.
That is incredibly thoughtful. They mapped out the cardinal directions and understood the local weather patterns to protect the yields.
It was real holistic design.
But there was one obstacle: they couldn't just move to a corner.
The wandering shadow.
Yes, the notes point out a massive, pre-existing tree sitting just over the fence to the south.
And it doesn't belong to Aunt Green.
Right, they can't cut it down or prune it. And because it's to the south, it casts what the source material poetically calls a wandering shadow across the garden throughout the day.
Now, in traditional landscaping, a large, uncontrollable shadow over a proposed vegetable garden is seen as a major flaw.
A deal breaker.
Yeah. You might try to plant shade-tolerant plants there, but usually with poor results because you're fighting the environment.
But Kesser and Steen don't fight it.
No, they don't.
Instead of seeing this wandering shadow as a flaw, they design with it. They figure, if you can't grow tomatoes in that spot, what can you do?
It can sit there.
Exactly. They change the function of the space based on what nature is dictating.
They suggest placing a bench right in the path of that wandering shadow.
They turn a dark, unproductive corner into a dedicated sanctuary.
Which is beautiful.
It is. They design a spot where Aunt Green can put on her gardening gloves, adjust her hat, sit with a friend, and drink herbal tea in the cool shade after a long afternoon of working in the sun.
It is a profound shift in thinking. They didn't try to force the land to be something it wasn't.
They let the constraint, the shadow, dictate the design.
And they turned a negative into a highly valued feature of the human experience in that garden.
When we zoom out and look at the whole picture of what Kesser and Steen accomplished for Aunt Green, it's just brilliant.
It truly is a masterclass.
They combine the convenience of modern tools, using iPads and Google Street View to bridge their communication gaps, with incredibly ancient, deeply sustainable practices like Swales and hügelkultur.
They managed water, built soil, protected the microclimate.
And most importantly, they deeply listened to both the client's physical needs and the unchangeable constraints of nature.
That's the real takeaway here.
And to you listening right now, the reason this matters is that these principles are universal.
Totally.
Whether you are designing a garden on a sloping corner lot, architecting a new software system, or trying to write a business plan for a startup, the core philosophy remains exactly the same.
You have to look at the resources you already have on hand.
Just like those cleared branches that became the foundation of the garden beds.
And you have to plan for the long term, anticipating the shadows of the growing apple trees.
And you have to find ways to turn your unavoidable obstacles, like a wandering shadow from a neighbor's tree, into your most unique features.
Working in harmony with your environment and your team yields far better results than constantly trying to bulldoze your way to a solution.
No bulldozers required, just a good plan, a little patience, and a willingness to see potential where others see problems.
Well said.
Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. We saw how Kesser and Steen were able to build a self-watering, self-fertilizing terraced garden simply by creatively rearranging the lot's own organic debris.
They didn't haul anything away. They used what was there to create a thriving ecosystem.
Ask yourself, what areas of your own life, your projects, or your work are you unnecessarily complicating right now by hauling away or ignoring the very materials that could serve as your foundation? What is your hügelkultur waiting to be built?